Here's a scenario I want you to think about for just a second. You walk into the Apple store, your old phone works fine, the battery dies a little bit quicker these days, the screen has a tiny crack, but it still definitely works. You convince yourself the upgrade makes sense. It's a productivity tool, it's for work, so you drop $1,200 on the new iPhone Pro Max. You walk out, you're feeling good, but then you get in your car and you look at the phone and suddenly your old charging cable, it looks like garbage next to it, okay? It just feels wrong to plug this thing into a $5 gas station cable. So you buy the MagSafe charger, that's 40 bucks. Then you get home and your cheap plastic case looks ridiculous on a brand new titanium device. You need the leather case. That is $60. Then you realize your old wired headphones are incompatible, so you need the AirPods Pro to really get that full experience, right? That's $250. Within 48 hours, that $1,200 purchase has quietly become $1,550, and you didn't even notice it happening. This is not you being bad with money. This is a massive psychological trap, and today I'm gonna show you exactly why your brain is wired to fall for it, and the 3 specific things you can do starting today to stop it from draining your bank account. So to understand why this keeps happening to you, we have to go all the way back to France in 1765. There was a man named Denis Diderot. He was a famous philosopher. He was the co-founder of the encyclopedia. He was a brilliant mind by any measure. But despite the fame, Diderot was flat broke. But he lived humbly. He wore old clothes. I wasn't able to draw clothes, just pretend. He sat on a rickety wooden chair in a dusty library and he was genuinely happy. Happy. Sad, you'll see why. He was content with everything that he had. Then everything changed. Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, was a fan of his work and heard about his financial struggles. She offered to buy his library from him for tens of thousands of dollars in today's money while letting him keep all of his books. Suddenly, Diderot had real money for the first time in his entire life, so he did what any of us would do. He treated himself. He bought a beautiful, expensive scarlet dressing gown, a luxury robe. He put it on, looked in the mirror, and it felt like a new man. But then he sat down at his desk to write and something started bothering him. The robe was magnificent, but the desk was scratched, rotting, and covered in ink stains. The contrast was painful. The desk did not match the robe, so he replaced the desk. Now the robe and the desk looked great together, but the threadbare rug on the floor looked like a dirty rag next to the mahogany table. So he bought a plush Damascus rug. Then the rug made the curtains look cheap. He replaced the curtains. The curtains made the chair look like firewood. He bought a leather armchair. New paintings, new sculptures, new mirrors. He spent months systematically replacing every single object he owned until the entire room matched the quality of that one robe. And at the end of it, Denis Diderot was broke again. Okay? He later wrote a famous essay called Regrets on My Parting with My Old Dressing Gown. In it, he wrote one of the most honest lines about money I've ever read. He wrote, "I was the absolute master of my old dressing gown, but I have become a slave to my new one." That is the Diderot effect. One new item enters your life and it quietly demands that everything around it be upgraded to match. You think you own your things, but your things end up owning you. Now, you might be thinking that is a great story about a French philosopher from 300 years ago, but you don't wear a scarlet robe, so how does this apply to you? Well, it applies to you every single day, and the reason it's actually more dangerous today than it was in Diderot's time is that modern marketing is specifically designed to trigger the effect with weaponized precision. In 1765, you had to physically walk somewhere and slowly make a decision. Today, you have one-click purchasing, Instagram ads that follow you around after you glance at something once, your phone listens to you. Influencers are getting paid to make every product feel like an identity statement. Buy now, pay later services that remove the friction of spending entirely, and same-day delivery that means there is no cooling off period between the impulse and the arrival. So the chain reaction can now complete itself within 48 hours, if that. Let me give you a modern example that I think most people can relate to. You decide to get serious about fitness. You buy a Peloton bike. Yes, you bought a bicycle with an iPad attached to it. Good job. Darwin Award. Solid investment in your health, somewhere around $1,600 or $1,700 depending on the model. But when the bike arrives, you realize that you can't ride it in your old baggy cotton t-shirt and gym shorts from college. You don't look like the instructors on the screen. You do not feel like a cyclist So you buy the specialized cycling shoes for $150, then the moisture wicking compression shorts for $80, then the branded tank top for $50. Then you realize the bike looks cluttered in your living room and you need to create a proper workout space, so you buy a yoga mat, some dumbbells, maybe a new smart TV to cast the classes. You did not just buy a Peloton, you bought an entire identity. And this is the core of why the Diderot Effect is so powerful today. It is not really about the objects at all. Is it about who you believe you are and who you see in the mirror and the space around you? Okay, here's the psychology underneath all of this, and I want you to really sit with it, because once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. As humans, we crave consistency. We want our external world to match our internal self-image. When you buy a high-status item, you are not just buying a thing, you are upgrading your identity. Think about it this way. If you see yourself as a Honda Civic person, you're comfortable wearing jeans, eating at McDonald's, and taking a road trip with a cooler in the back seat. You like McDonald's, you probably have a vape. But this is the anchor item, the Honda Civic. This is the anchor item, the Porsche guy, okay? That is your world, and everything in it is coherent. But if you stretch your budget to buy a Porsche, you've shifted your entire identity. You are now a Porsche guy or a Porsche person. And Porsche people, they don't wear scratch sunglasses, okay? Porsche people do not have cheap IKEA furniture in their apartment or home. Porsche people do not eat off paper plates. The car acts as what researchers call an anchor item. It sets a new baseline for your entire life, and every other item in your life that falls below that baseline creates genuine psychological tension. It feels wrong. So to relieve that tension, you upgrade everything else. The car forces you to upgrade the wardrobe. The wardrobe forces you to upgrade your vacation spots. The vacation spots force you to upgrade your luggage, right? You're not spending just because you want to, you're spending to maintain coherence in the story you are telling yourself and everyone around you about who you are. This is also why the fake it till you make it advice is kind of financially toxic, in my opinion. Not like if you're a young salesperson, act as if, I get all that. But like, if you want to just keep up with the Joneses, don't fake it till you make it, because you may not ever make it, okay? I'll show you why. If you go out and buy a Rolex before you can actually afford one, that Rolex is going to demand a suit, a car, a dinner tab that will bankrupt you if you can't afford it. You have upgraded your identity without upgrading your income, and your spending will chase that identity gap. Another trademarkable phrase. We got protect your PP, freedom gap. Now we introduced the identity gap until something breaks. Most people make financial decisions by looking at just one number. They look at the price tag and ask themselves if they can afford this $500 item. That is the wrong question, and it's costing you a fortune, and I'll show you why. The right question is the system cost of this purchase. Let me walk you through a real example. So you decide to renovate your kitchen, okay? So you budget 10 grand for new cabinets, totally reasonable. But once the new white modern cabinets are installed, your old 10-year-old yellowish refrigerator looks absolutely disgusting next to them. It works perfectly fine, but the visual mismatch is unbearable. So you spend 2 grand on a stainless steel fridge to match. Now the fridge and cabinets look great together, but looking down at the floor, you have old vinyl that looks cheap and dated against everything else. The contrast is just too much, so what do? You rip it up and put in hardwood. So here's floors. Now that's 5 grand. Now the kitchen looks like a magazine cover, but it's an open concept house, and when you stand in your beautiful new kitchen and look into the living room looks like a dump, okay? It looks dated. The old brown sofa looks sad, the paint on the walls look dull, the kitchen renovation has leaked into an entirely different room, and you end up painting the whole downstairs and buying a new sectional, new furniture, which is another 18 grand for all that furniture. And if you're wondering how that gets you from 17,000 to 35,000, paint an entire floor of a house and buy quality furniture that will actually last you, unlike some of this junk that's out there. And that alone can run you another $15,000 to $18,000 easily. The final cost was not $10,000, that's why I have this X here. It was $35,000 because of the systemic cost. The 10 grand cabinets were scarlet robe. They were the anchor item that we just talked about, that made everything else look inadequate. And here's the part that should really get you. You were completely happy with your old fridge before you got the new cabinets. You never would have hated it. You never would have noticed the floor. The upgrade created the dissatisfaction. The new thing manufactured a problem that did not exist before you bought it. In the next section, I'll explain why upgrades are often downgrades in disguise, But first, let's get into today's sponsor, Hostinger. When I started Whiteboard Finance, I spent way more time messing around with websites, domains, and tech setup than I ever did actually creating content. It was annoying. That friction almost stopped me before I even got going. Hostinger removes all of that. It is an all-in-one platform where you get your website, your domain, your email, and AI tools that can take you from a single prompt to a live website in literally minutes. Watch this. I'm going to type in a quick prompt right now and show you how fast this actually works.
Okay, so right now I'm typing in the prompt and you can see Hostinger doing its thing right here. I don't necessarily want to do a voiceover, but I think it's important to show what's actually going on right now. And you can see it spits out a website based on everything that I prompted it to do. Gave it a couple extra prompts here, and here you go. You have pretty much a complete website, and you can see how quickly that was done.
That is your website. No juggling 5 different subscriptions, no hiring a developer, no tech headaches, just your idea live on the internet. And the pricing is the part that makes actually sense for most people and for someone just starting out. Because you don't need to spend a fortune to look like you have been doing this for years. If you've been sitting on an idea and telling yourself you will get to it someday, make today your day one. Hostinger is running a New Year's sale right now, so it's the perfect time to get started. Go to hostinger.com/whiteboardfinance or use my discount code at the link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, pardon this drawing, but it'll make sense here in a second. So here's a part of the Diderot effect that almost never gets talked about and I think is actually the most important piece. When Diderot had his old robe, he didn't worry about ink stains. He used it to wipe his pen, it was functional. He was completely free with it because he was the master of it. These are supposed to be like stains and dirt and not caring. So when he got the new robe, he became terrified of ruining it, okay? He became stiff in it. He lost his freedom. The object he bought to feel better actually made his daily experience worse. You have felt this. When you buy a brand new expensive white couch, you stop letting your friends drink red wine in the living room. You stop letting the dog jump up. You stop letting the kids eat there. You stop actually living in your living room because you're too busy servicing the object. You have become the curator of a museum, not the resident of a home. So this upgrade actually downgraded your actual lived experience or your quality of life. The thing you bought to add to your life is now subtracting from it. And this is the deeper trap of the Diderot effect. It is not just that it costs you money you don't have, it is that the things you are buying are quietly degrading your quality of life even as they feel like improvements, okay? So you're paying more money for the privilege of enjoying your home less. Let that sink in. Okay, so we cannot just live in a cave and never buy anything nice. That is not a real strategy and it's not how I live my own life. But there are 3 specific things you can do starting today to break this pattern before it breaks your bank account. Strategy 1 is to always calculate the system cost, which we talked about in this video, not the item cost. So before you buy any upgrade, a new car, a new gaming console, a new piece of furniture, you pause and ask yourself, what is this going to demand? So it's the item cost plus the demand. Okay, remember the anchor item? So if you're thinking about buying a PlayStation 17 for $500, will it demand a 4K TV to actually see the graphics it's capable of? Will it demand an extra controller, a subscription? Write down basically this full system cost before you commit to buying something like that. So if the system cost is $1,500 and you were only thinking about $500, that changes the decision entirely. So if you cannot afford the system, okay, you cannot afford the anchor item. Do not invite the chain reaction in, okay? So look at strategy number 2. Strategy 2 is to buy one, give one. Not buy one, get one. Buy one, give one. The Diderot effect thrives on accumulation, okay? You add the new thing and you keep the old things and then you try and make everything match. You need to cap your inventory. If you buy a new pair of sneakers, an old pair has to leave the house. Donate it, sell it, trash it. If you buy a new toaster, the old one goes. This forces you to actually value what you own. It keeps you in the mindset of a user and not a collector or a museum curator, which we talked about earlier. And strategy 3 is what I call strategic downgrading. And this is the one that feels counterintuitive, but actually works incredibly well. Sometimes the only way to reset your baseline and relieve the psychological pressure is to deliberately keep a visible part of your life humble. Drive a slightly older car than you can comfortably afford. Wear a watch that is simple and functional. When your anchor items are modest, you feel zero pressure to upgrade everything around them. If you drive a beat up truck, nobody expects you to show up in a suit, right? Nobody expects you to eat at a certain level of restaurant. You have complete freedom is what I'm trying to say. So a low maintenance identity is genuinely one of the most profitable assets you can own. It lets you stack cash while everyone else is busy curating their museum. Okay, look, I wanna be real with you about something before I wrap this up. The Diderot Effect is not some obscure academic concept that only applies to French philosophers from 300 years ago. It's operating in your own life right now. In your closet, in your garage, in your kitchen, in your living room, every time you buy something nice and feel that quiet dissatisfaction with everything around it, that is Diderot's scarlet robe doing its thing. And I get it. I like nice things. My wife and I have both made purchases over the years that kicked off a chain we didn't see coming. Like, I don't know, just different cars, different things like that. But that's just being human, okay? We're actually in the middle of a bathroom remodel right now. But what changed for me was learning to see the game before I was actually in it. So before I make a significant purchase now, I genuinely ask myself, what is this going to demand next? Not because I'm cheap, because I'm not cheap, but because I want to be the master of my things and not the other way around. Consumerism is designed from the ground up to make you feel incomplete. It is designed to make you feel like you're just one purchase away from finally having it all. But Diderot proved 300 years ago that the one purchase does not finish the puzzle, it scrambles it. It resets the whole board and forces you to start over. The people who I've seen build real lasting wealth are not the ones who bought less, they're the ones who were intentional about what they let in and who stayed the master of what. If you want to go deeper on actually building the systems that protect your income and grow your wealth the right way, that is exactly what we have worked on inside Whiteboard Finance University. This is my private community. It's absolutely a ton of value and it's ridiculously low price. It's a private community where I've built out full courses on personal finance, real estate investing, and the stock market. I share my live trades as they happen so you can see the actual decisions I'm making in real time and why. Every single Thursday I do a live stream where members can jump in and ask me anything directly. If you are done just watching and you're ready to start building, the link is in the description below. Come work with us. And if you got value out of today's video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, share it with 12,000 friends. And that way you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you so much and have a prosperous day. I don't know if you can do a bathrobe. Here. Ooh, look at this bathrobe. Look at my nice new bathrobe. And I'm poor.